We're back with episode 25 of ICOPod. I'm Bob Conley Jr. And with me from Orlando, Florida, Austin Skinner. Austin, how you doing?
The Florida Kid is here in live living color, baby.
That's an interesting nickname. So as you can tell, the last several weeks, ICOPod has been, well, normal.
Well, yeah.
For the most part. I mean, you can't really tell that we haven't recorded an episode in, a month and a half almost.
Yeah. It's still crap. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah, don't get it twisted.
Right.
Because obviously we've mentioned that Austin moved to Orlando. Luckily, we had a pretty big backlog of shows that allowed Austin at least to get comfortable in Florida. And you would not even known if we hadn't talked about it. But we are back.
We're sneaky. Yeah.
We're untrustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
We have, like, a couple weeks ago, we were like, hey, we are going to steal your credit card information. And we probably have. So make sure you're checking your bank statements that we haven't robbed you.
Yeah, look for those little 1-2 cent deposits. That's how we know it works.
Yes.
And that's how we're stealing your information. So
exactly.
Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. So the last time we were together was like June 1st, right? That's when we did a lot of recording.
Yeah, King of the Ring, I think.
Yeah, the Raw before King of the Ring, and then 2 bonus episodes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have we even mentioned the 2 bonus episodes that we announced which ones they were? I can't remember.
I don't think we have, because I know we recorded, and I don't even think we were sure what we were going to pick that day. So I don't think we have mentioned.
Should I just mention it now then, or what?
Let's do it.
All right. So this is what. So I think we're on 25. I think we were up to 23 that's released at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't be releasing any bonus episodes until we get to this episode, number 25.
Right.
So the bonus episodes that we recorded before Austin bailed on me and broke my heart and moved to Orlando were live watches of Super Brawl 3 for World Championship Wrestling and then SummerSlam 92. And that was a day where we literally recorded for 12 hours.
Yeah, no, I think I noted it on my Facebook that night. It was like, not necessarily consecutive, but all in one day. Yeah. It was 12 full hours of audio.
Right. So, like, as we mentioned, we did the Raw before King of the Ring, and then the King of the Ring itself. Right there, that's almost 4 hours of material.
Yeah.
And then you had the 2 live watches, which were 3-hour shows.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like a little lunch break there in there, or whatever, dinner break. So it was a long day.
Yeah.
But now we're back. Our batteries are recharged.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to continue on here with the ICOPod series. We're obviously done with King of the Ring. Now we're marching towards the summer event of the year, the 1993 installment of SummerSlam. But before we get to that, we have several episodes of Raw here. There's actually a stretch in August where Raw was preempted. So I think it's probably like 6 or 7 Raws really before we get to till we get to SummerSlam, like we had done for for WrestleMania 9 when we had watched the March to WrestleMania 9.
Yep.
There was a SummerSlam spectacular special event. I can't find a full video on YouTube or anything like that, but I can find the big matches that we would probably have to want to watch, and then like cover interview segments. If you don't want to watch them, I'll just talk about them, whatever, and go from there.
Right.
So when we get to that point, we'll do that. And then I would have to think that when we get to SummerSlam 93, we'll probably, again, because if we're doing one episode at a time in terms of releasing, recording 2, we can probably do another live watch. Maybe going back to the Coliseum videos
that'd be cool.
That we started off with.
Yeah, you know what? And ever since we watched Super Brawl, I'll be honest with you, Bob, I've had such a hankering. I've kept myself away, but I've had such a hankering to go ahead and dig into that stuff, because some of that some of the early WCW stuff, I love that stuff. And I don't think it gets enough love. Like, of course, Nitro and the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, that always gets such praise and highlighted everywhere. But some of that early, like the 92 stuff, you got Rick Rude and Steamboat stuff. There's just so much good stuff that I feel like gets a little bit overlooked. So I wouldn't mind even revisiting those for more bonus episodes.
Well,
so you never know.
We could even watch like Clash of Champions from
Yeah.
And Saturday night's main event. So there's unlimited things that we could potentially do here.
Right.
But just before we get into all observer notes and all that stuff, you are right though about WCW. I think when Rick Rude gets there in October of '91, and the Dangerous Alliance becomes a thing.
Yep.
From then until probably
94
September, I would say September '94.
Yeah.
What, like the first couple of months Hogan's there, it's still good.
Yep.
But like for sure by like October when Flair retires and then like the Dungeon of Doom thing starts kind of Faces of Fear in like 95. That's when it goes off end.
Right.
And then it doesn't really pick up again until May of '96, roughly, when Hall and Nash and stuff come in. But I think that's a great point because in the reviews I would do for my website for like worldwides in '92 or whatever for WCW, I mean, every week it was like Rick Rude against Ron Simmons. And Ron Simmons was a pretty capable wrestler at the time.
Oh, for sure.
Or like Bobby Eaton against Sting, something basic like that. So it's like every week that court and like Steve Austin, Steamboat, they had incredible like 10-minute matches on television.
Right.
Compared to what we're seeing maybe on Raws here or Superstars or whatever, it's just such a drastic difference. You would think that WCW at that time in ring-wise would be drawing 15,000 people.
Right.
Right. I mean? And they're just not.
Yeah.
They're actually drawing worse than WWF was at the time.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about even just how deep their talent roster was at the time. I mean, of course, you have guys that you never hear from again, but so do you in WWF right now. So I'm definitely interested in digging more into that.
I think I showed you the match, but like one of my favorite War Games matches is the one from '92.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Dangerous Alliance against Sting Squadron or whatever.
Yeah, we did watch that. I remember watching that.
Yeah, like it was just, I mean, it's like bloodshed everywhere, and like everything was so personal.
Yeah.
And heated. Yep. It just has that old school feel, which is really, really enjoyable.
Right.
But before we get into all this stuff, if you have suggestions that you want us to do bonus episodes, or maybe you want to join us on one, because we're doing this through Google Hangouts. So you can, it's a pretty simple way of hooking it up here. I know I was talking about how I'm an idiot and I don't know how to do it, but Austin here is a genius and figure it out within like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And, if maybe you would want to be part of it, shoot us an email at icopodcast@gmail.com, or you can, message us on Facebook or whatever. And we'll, set something up. I know, I know your buddy Joe there has expressed interest in it, and Mike Campbell has as well. But if anybody else that hasn't contacted us wants to, go right ahead and get in contact with us. And then you can like us on Facebook at IcoPod. I do have a Twitter thing for it. Have I posted on it? No, I haven't even really tried. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not really big into the whole let's get a huge following and stuff or whatever. So who knows? Maybe one day it'll blow up and I'll have 1 million followers and then I have no posts on it. Who knows? Doesn't matter.
Great, Bob.
Okay. It's not my fault. As I just kicked my microphone. That's okay. We're live. It's okay.
We're alive, pal.
Yeah. I literally just clipped it with my big toe. All right. So let's go into episode 25. And this week I have quite a few observer notes since we're coming right off of the King of the Ring. That's usually when I guess future plans are in the mix. So maybe they want to tell us what's going on.
Yep.
As noted previously here, Hulk Hogan worked a few house shows prior to King of the Ring, and they've been considered flops at the box office. The main event that he was working he was teaming with Beefcake against Money Incorporated, who were the tag team champions. They had a show in Richmond, which drew only 1,850 fans. Indianapolis drew 2,500. And Columbus, which was a TV taping, drew 3,700. So, I mean, I guess Columbus was mediocre, but the first two was that's not good.
Yeah.
It's considered that the upcoming singles matches or rematches with Yokozuna will be a real test to see if Hogan can still draw anything of substance for them.
Sure.
Bret Hart missed the Columbus TV taping after the King of the Ring due to an ankle injury he suffered at Madison Square Garden, which was on June 12th. So that was 2 days before, or the day before the King of the Ring.
Okay.
So just put that in perspective that he had those 3 pretty decent matches on a bum ankle.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Mountie, our favorite officer of the law, from Quebec or whatever, Canada. Well, it appears he will be returning soon to the WWF. You're not a Mountie fan?
Absolutely not.
I can't really say that I was. I'm the Mountie. Do you have any memories of him? Like, I know his match with Bossman at SummerSlam 91 is really the only.
Is he one of the Rougeaus?
Yes, it's Jacques.
Yeah.
Jacques Rougeau.
Yeah. I remember him being big and clumsy.
Really? Well.
He's just clumsy. I feel
he wasn't very graceful.
No.
I guess you could say.
No. Although, you know what? The look was kind of cool. I liked his policeman look better than Bossman's, I think. Like, if the Mountie was out patrolling the streets, I might believe he's a cop to Bossman's unbuttoned chest. Like, just patrolling the street. Like, I don't believe in that. The Mountie, maybe. Bossman, no. No, that's not a real cop. He's the mall cop.
Like Paul Bart or whatever. Blart.
Yeah, Paul Blart. Yeah, there you go.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Marty Jannetty, he's already missed a few house shows, but don't worry, it's not drug or alcohol related. It's assumed to be no, it's assumed to be due to a legitimate injury. Though his push does appear to be over because he recently put over Mr. Hughes in a squash match. So, oh well, Marty. It was a good run while it lasted. It was about 3 weeks, and then they don't care about him already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. The June 7th Raw did a 2.5 rating, and that was against the Stanley Cup Finals in the Music City Awards, and that would be the second lowest rating thus far for Monday Night Raw.
Interesting.
If I were to tell you that a gentleman by the name of David Heath got a tryout at the Columbus tapings, do you know who I'm talking about?
I believe that is Vampire Warrior, otherwise known as Gangrel.
That is correct. Because he sure did. He did get a tryout, and apparently he looked okay. And he may be getting, if he does get the job, he would get a vampire gimmick, which I can't say is surprising.
Right.
The guy isn't necessarily the best looking guy in the world, so vampire thing might work. But it was noted, though, that he had gotten a WCW developmental deal. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to try out the WWF.
Yeah.
So he's kind of taking a chance on himself there.
Well, and not only that, it's funny that you bring this up because I've become a podcast junkie, let's say.
Okay.
And I was listening to Edge and Christian's podcast, and Gangrel was on it. And I guess that he did like 15 tours of Japan, which I never knew of. For a couple smaller promotions. Wing, who worked with FMW, as well as All Japan as a tag team. So maybe that played a part into it. Like, he had Japan commitments at the time and didn't want to fully jump in with WCW. I don't know. But it's interesting because he kept talking about how he always wanted to stay on WWF's radar. So he would pop in and make those shots. So that's funny because I was just listening to that.
Well,
but
if he said that, it would make sense why he wouldn't want to do the WCW developmental deal.
Yeah, I would imagine that he didn't want to be tied down for sure. I think he's a little bit underrated work-wise. I think he's pretty consistent. Even today, like, he still works the same as he did in 1999. Like, it's the same guy. Like, same style. I mean, he's slower, but he's older, you know.
Well, didn't we see him at a big-time show?
No, yeah, we did.
Who did Billy? Billy Gunn?
I thought it was Sabu.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Sabu. Billy Gunn was like Scott Steiner or something like that.
Yeah, but look at Gangrel compared to Sabu's work. I mean, night and day.
Yeah.
So
I guess I can just say now he didn't get a job, but he would like 5 years later.
Yeah.
In the Attitude Era. So at some point in time, we'll see David Heath. The August 13th Madison Square Garden show will feature Yokozuna defending the WWF title against Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect inside of a steel cage, and Doink will take on Marty Jannetty. So that appears to be the triple main event or something that they're going for. I actually have this show on a fan cam.
Okay.
And I have reviewed it for WrestlingRecaps.com. And as I recall, the Yoko with Bret match would actually end up being a cage match. It was actually pretty damn good.
Ooh. I'd be interested in that, yeah.
And I think you can find it on YouTube. I'm almost certain, if not the whole show, you can, I think, find on YouTube. I think somebody did actually loaded up on there.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and I don't think Perfect Michaels happens in a singles match. It's like a 6-man tag or something like that. But that's what they're going for at the time. And I think, needless to say, just on that advertisement, I probably would want to check it out.
For sure. Yep.
So remember, like, Brutus Barber Beefcake? He was at one time a thing.
Yeah.
Well, it had been mentioned that he would be in Hulk Hogan's corner for the King of the Ring. Well, he was not there, and it was never mentioned again.
Right.
So it appears that Beefcake is no longer with the WWF, but there's not any concrete news on that. I would have to assume. We haven't seen the guy since WrestleMania 9.
Not even a mention, like you said.
Yeah,
we haven't even heard his name.
I guess it was mentioned one time. I don't even remember them one mention. It certainly wasn't on Raw that I can recall.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
One of your favorite wrestlers, Typhoon, has been out of action due to a separated shoulder that he suffered a month ago in a match against Papa Shango. Let me try that again. In Houston. Sure, we're all devastated by that.
Yeah, he got hit by a wave of injuries. That's too bad.
Yeah, could have been the next world champion.
Oh, yeah. Tiny head and all.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't fall through a wall or anything soon.
Right.
So, Backlund and Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, Taker Gonzalez, and then Mr. Perfect and Lex Luger have been the main events on the house show circuit lately. And oddly enough, Razor Ramon has been playing the face role. Like, he's a complete baby face on the house shows, despite a face turn not having happened yet.
Right.
Don't know why I had so many H words in a row there, but it hasn't happened on television yet.
Well, ho. Who do you know?
Aside from Taker Gonzalez, Backlund might be a little boring, but those don't seem like awful.
Could be worse.
Feature matches there.
Could be worse, yeah.
And then it's also noted here that Bob Backlund, in fact, lost his. He suffered his first pinfall loss at Madison Square Garden in a match against Bret Hart on June 12th.
The good news is, though, that same night he did find his AARP card. So he was able to kind of settle that out. So he lost something, but he also found
you
something.
win and you lose.
Right.
I take the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that wraps up Observer Notes. And then, as per usual here, I go into some house shows. And this week I do have 2 cards, and they both took place on June 12th. So the first one is from Indianapolis, Indiana at the Market Square Arena. It drew 2,500 people. And it featured Owen Hart taking on Terry Taylor, Luna Vachon, and Sensational Sherry in a singles match. Crush continuing his series of matches with Doink the Clown. The Steiner brothers teamed up to battle Blake Beverly and Damian Demento. Mr. Hughes and Virgil. It was probably a barn burner of a match. Yokozuna took on Jim Duggan, and then in the main event, the WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan teamed up with Brutus the Barber Beefcake to take on the WWF Tag Team Champions Money Incorporated, and Sergeant Slaughter was in fact the special guest referee. Would you go to that show?
Yeah, I probably would. I think for the most part, it's they're tried and true matches that have proven to, at some point, draw a little bit of interest. So I think carrying through with that, like even as much as it blows my mind to say it, I would still be interested in seeing a Duggan Yokozuna match.
I know, we're like going 4 months on that now.
I know. Crush and Doink, I'm way over that. Like, they need to stop doing that. I think it's weird. It must be a substitution with Beverly and Demento. I think that's weird.
Yeah, the Steiner. So I'm assuming it probably was supposed to be the Beverly brothers or something.
Yeah.
I think Bo was hurt, so they put in Damian Demento for some reason.
So I could see that as being a little bit of a letdown for the crowd live, but I think all things considered, yeah, I'd go to that show. How about you, Bob?
Well, I'm surprised that you said you would go. If I were to go, I'm gonna get like the $7 bleacher seats or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
They haven't really done anything with Hogan Beefcake Money Incorporated to really continue that on, I feel like.
Yeah, but they're names. You'd go for
I know. Yeah, it is Hogan, so I think
right.
Like I said, like before, I've been interested in the Luna Sherry thing.
Oh yeah, totally. I forgot I was on
from the television stuff. So
yep.
And then seeing the train wreck that is Virgil.
Could you imagine that match?
I mean, considering Virgil's so not well coordinated, Mr. Hughes could accidentally kill him on a spine buster.
Easily.
Or he'd be paralyzed.
Yeah.
So
that might be worth the ticket alone, right there.
Just for like, hey man, hey Austin, you want to go see Virgil? Maybe get like paralyzed? Oh yeah, dude. How much your ticket? $7. Oh, I'm in.
Might die. We'll see. Might see a death tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I can bring my Virgil action figure that at one time was autographed by a magic marker. So
just get him to sign it again and then smudge it in front of him.
Smudge it off again. I wanted to use it, so hey, what can I say? Right, so I guess we both would go to that show. I would definitely go for a cheap ticket though if I had to.
Okay.
Second show is from Madison Square Garden, and it drew 9,100.
Wow.
And so it's about less than half of capacity, I believe. It featured Tito Santana taking on Papa Shango, and this would be Santana's last Madison Square Garden match. WWF Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels defended against Razor Ramon, and this would feature Diesel's Madison Square Garden debut. Previously mentioned here is Bret Hart taking on Bob Backlund, and this would be obviously featuring Backlund's first pinfall loss. Well, you wouldn't know that going into it. The Undertaker took on Giant Gonzalez, and this would be Gonzalez's only Madison Square Garden
thank God
match there. Yeah. I know, I don't. I don't think the Garden would want to see his presence more than it had to.
No.
Tatanka took on Bam Bam Bigelow. The Head Shrinkers teamed up with Afa to take on the Smoking Guns and Kamala.
Oof.
And this would be Afa's in-ring return to the Garden after a nearly 9-year absence. The Guns debut, and then Kamala's last Madison Square Garden match. Quite a bit of like debuts and.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you're really a crossroads there.
Yeah. And in the main event, Lex Luger took on Mr. Perfect.
That's a pretty solid show too, Bob.
Stronger than the other one.
Yes. Yeah.
I might have to get a better ticket for that one, I think.
Right. And the whole thing is, I think that one they're putting more focus on, hey, let's try this. Like you get Razor and Shawn. It's
a way focus on like in-ring.
Yes. Yes. It's probably and that makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
I think anything with Hogan is like your entertainment.
Yeah.
And stuff with Brett.
Yeah. Right.
Let's go in-ring. Like we're going to have a good show. But I'm curious because I don't think Hogan's been at the Garden at all. I would have to think Hogan at the Garden is going to draw more.
I know.
9,100, right?
Yeah. For sure.
That'd be kind of baffling. Let's say that if they did the Hogan tag match and it drew like 8,500.
Right.
The management then be like, "Wow, fuck, Bret Hart just fucking drew 9,100."
Right.
Sure, it's only a few hundred difference, but
still, hey, maybe that's something the office was worried about.
Sure.
Like we don't even want to try it. We don't want to see the the writing on the wall for Hogan. Let's just avoid that completely and just have it be a Bret show, like you said.
Yeah. Like Vince wants to, still be in denial.
Right. Or not even that. Even just, from a fact standpoint, they don't want to highlight that even the potential of Hogan not drawing as much as, say, a Bret card or something like that.
I think you froze up there for a second. So if anybody hears me say, I think you're frozen, it's because you froze on me for a second.
Well, sorry, Bob. But yeah, I think that might be a possibility that, they didn't even want to have that as an option. Hogan not drawing as much as the next guy.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, I think that's definitely the case. Plus, with Bret Hart, it would be feather in his cap, and you'd probably hear about it forever.
Right. Right.
This is what Bret Hart likes to do. Okay, so that wraps up the house shows. I guess there are 2 shows we'd go to. I think we're both stronger on the Madison Square Garden aspect of it.
I agree.
So I guess there's stronger cards. There are some of the stronger cards I think we've came across to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So as we move into syndication news, on the June 12th edition of Superstars, they showed some picture stills from the Albany house show where Shawn Michaels regained the WWF Intercontinental Championship from Marty Jannetty, and it also featured the debut of Diesel. Now, Diesel has appeared on Raw, so this wouldn't be the first time that they would have shown him or seen him or anything. Right. But I guess his involvement was shown. On the same episode of Superstars, 123 Kid declined the $7,500 offer from Razor Ramon. It's good to see he's putting good value on his life. He doesn't want to just sell for $7,500.
Right.
Also, And this was also shown on the King of the Ring, but not in its entirety. Mr. Hughes brutally attacked Paul Bearer and the Undertaker with an urn. Giant Gonzalez was involved in there as well. I believe it's briefly shown on Raw as well, so they're really kind of driving that home. So it's going to be a Undertaker, Mr. Hughes angle potentially for the summer. I would have to say I prefer that compared to Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez.
Oh, God, yeah. But you know what? Poor Undertaker. Because I feel like he hasn't gotten any good material in months. A long time.
Well, I mean, this entire podcast, he's just been Giant Gonzalez. So 6 months for sure.
Yeah.
And if you want to go dating back to 92, I mean, the Kamala shit.
Right.
Last time it was probably anything meaningful was Jake Roberts.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, 91. Yeah.
Yeah, late 91, early 92. So.
Yep.
Yeah, well, yeah, late 91 was like Hogan and shit. So he was, definitely over a year where he's had a good opponent.
Yeah.
On the June 13th edition of Wrestling Challenge, which would be the afternoon of King of the Ring, the WWF Tag Team Champions Money Incorporated took on the Smoking Guns in a non-title match. And guess what? We checked it out for you.
Oh, yeah, we sure did.
Because that's what we do here. We watch the big ones.
Oh, you know it.
All right, so before the action starts, IRS does his usual, hey, I'm going to cut a promo about tax cheats and says that, everybody's a tax cheat and how people never learn to not be a tax cheat.
Yeah, he goes, so they come out. I was, first of all, surprised to see this on Wrestling Challenge, especially these two teams facing off. I thought it was kind of a bigger match, non-title or not. But yeah, he comes out, IRS says, I've warned you tax cheats many, many times not to cheat on your taxes, but some people never learn. Typical entrance, mostly boos for the champs, but yeah, typical promo here from IRS.
Yeah, and we also get a Head Shrinkers pre-tape promo with Afa saying that their opponents at King of the Ring aren't going to like what they're going to do.
Yeah, so it was like a split screen thing. So it comes in, the Smoking Guns are making their entrance. And I noticed while they were making their entrance, they just seemed very genuinely happy with their run thus far. I could just see the kind of the smiles on their face. I don't think they were really playing up to that. So I'm glad that they're enjoying themselves. But yeah, during their entrance, we get the split screen kind of spliced in video of the Head Shrinkers and Alpha. I'll tell you what, Bob, I didn't understand a goddamn word that was said.
That's all I can make out from it because they were like slobbering over each other.
Yeah, no, I literally didn't understand. And then they all laughed and it just went away. And I was like, okay, well, I missed that.
From what I gathered, he said that, the Steiner Brothers and Smoking Guns aren't going to like what we're going to do. And like Fatu and Samu were like eating their hands or something.
I don't know.
This is a bizarre turn of events, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you want to take away the match here? And
sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll go right into it. I don't have too many notes. I know you're usually the play-by-play guy.
Well, see, that's my weakness here is I always do play-by-play.
Yeah.
Like literally, I have like 8 fucking dash marks here full of notes, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll keep it brief for you. Basically, Smoking Guns got a pretty decent reaction in the beginning of the match. So Ted and Billy started it off with Ted putting the knuckles to him in the corner. All really basic stuff. Billy rallied quick, and things broke down a couple of times during this match. So the first one, it happens, a minute after the first bell rings. So we get a breakdown. The Smoking Guns are getting the better of the champs as we went into commercial break. I thought they were coming across pretty good. Of course, there's definitely shades of green mixed in. And I don't know if working with Money Inc. necessarily helped hide that green or bring it out more. I think there was a little bit of clash of styles here. But back from commercial, Billy comes off as a really quick worker, sometimes almost too quick, and it's almost like rigid. So I did catch IRS calling some spots, and he did the same with Bart once he was tagged in. Bart was stumbling around with Ted as Ted got tagged in, and the match broke down again. There was a lot of confusion at this point.
Well, I mean, like early on, it seemed pretty repetitive because they kept on doing like drop kicks to the floor. They did it twice, I think, with Money Incorporated. They sent him to the floor twice.
Yeah, it seemed very systematic. So,
Yeah.
The smoking guns would kind of take over. Action spills out to the floor, spills in the ring. They get Money Inc. gets a little bit of offense, and then Smoking Guns takes back over. It spills out, spills back in the ring. So it was like, yeah, you're not getting too much. I feel like the crowd was into it for what it was.
Yeah.
But it's very basic wrestling here. And at this point, a Steiner promo was spliced in, and it was very basic. It was like the Steiners say, here's what we're doing. Here's when we're doing it. That's it.
It was, they literally like, we're coming after Money Incorporated and Smoking Guns are taking care of the head shrinkers. All right.
Yeah.
And they just moved on.
It blows my mind.
It added nothing to them.
It was nothing.
The situation.
Yeah, it was nothing. Like if you didn't put that in, you don't lose anything from
right. Because like it blows my mind. We're coming after Money Incorporated and the Smoking Guns will take care of the head shrinkers. All right, see you later tonight.
So boring.
Okay.
And like, okay, so you put this promo up and then put it against like their in-ring action and how dynamic it is. And they're a horrible promo. So boring. Like you get nothing out of them. So that didn't help, You're already getting kind of basic, boring moves, and then you get a boring promo spliced in. It's like,
well, it's funny you say that because you are absolutely right. But then you look in like 6 or 7 years, and Scott Steiner is like one of the
best promos,
best talkers
in the business.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like
I think maybe at that point, he had like some back injuries or whatever, so maybe he was thinking, "Hey, I can't fucking go anymore.
I got to do something.
I got to get some fucking wild ass promos."
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but it's like night and day. The Scott Steiner of 1998 compared to the one of 1994, 1993.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's not even close.
It's crazy. But yeah, back into the ring here. The champs did take back over when IRS threw Bart out to the floor for Ted to get an advantage on the outside. Billy was looking kind of, I would say, farther along than Bart at this point. He's not as green, but of course, they're both still learning, and it is apparent in this match. We did get a boring chant at this point, which, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally, as you're talking about it and how, Money Incorporated were working over them or whatever, I couldn't even tell you. If I didn't have all these notes in front of me, I couldn't even have told you a spot.
No, yeah. And that was the kind of match it was.
Yeah. Like, it's not anything you're going to remember.
Right. I think this match for me came across more for the agents than the crowd, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could have been like a test for Smoking Guns. Like, can we like push you?
Yes.
That's you guys that we can build around.
Yeah, that's what this felt like.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, back to the ring. IRS jumped off the top into a boot you could see a mile away as Bart kind of laid on the canvas and waited for him. I thought that was really lame. And then Billy and Ted came back in, and the crowd did wake up a little bit as chaos again ensued in the match as the two teams traded offense. Going into the finish here, not much. Money Inc. wins with IRS basically distracting Billy on the outside while Ted rolled him up. The ref was distracted for some reason, but still ended up seeing the distraction. So I don't know if it was like a weird timing thing or something got screwed up.
Well, what it looked like was, when they were all going at it, which is usually a tell of a sign here that the finish is coming up.
Yeah.
Bart had atomic dropped IRS to the floor.
Yep.
And then that allowed IRS to trip Billy. And then Billy was like, what the fuck? And the referee was like looking at, I think, IRS. And that allowed DiBiase to knee lift Billy from behind and got a roll up 1, 2, 3. And then Bart was in the ring kind of. And he's like, oh, fuck, I didn't break it up.
Yeah. And I also, think that Ted, it almost looked like Ted was kind of deciding what to do for the finish. Like, do I low blow him? And like,
I think a low blow would have been better than a knee to the back.
That's what I thought was going to happen. But I think he realized that the ref was watching him. So Ted didn't even do it. He just was like, well, fuck it. I'll just roll him up.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty weak finish.
Absolutely.
The match isn't bad or anything. It's like, I don't even know if it's okay. It's just there.
I thought it was weird. It was just a
it's
weird
like a
match.
6 or 7 minute match, but
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't really impressive or anything with smoking guns. Like I don't think I'd go, after watching that, if I was a kid at the time and I'm watching it, I'd be, oh fuck yeah, man, smoking guns were so close.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
really. I don't think I'd be able to really buy into them, and I'm kind of surprised that they've lost a match already.
Well, and the whole thing is,
I know it's Money Incorporated, but
yeah,
usually a new team doesn't lose that quick.
right. And the thing for me was when I saw the title, okay, Smoking Guns versus Money Inc. I was excited, so I kind of saw this as a little bit of a letdown. Of course, I knew we weren't going to get a WrestleMania match, but I thought it could have been a lot better for what it was. So, with that said, I think it, like I said in the beginning, I think it was more of a clash of styles. Ted kind of put minimal effort in, it seems like. Lately, I just feel like it's IRS with a broomstick out there sometimes. So I just feel like Ted's wicked mailing it in.
I got the same vibe for that. And I think there was a moment there where DiBiase, I think it was after they were all in the ring, they got dumped to the floor, and I could just tell by like DiBiase's body language, kind of like he was just mailing it in, like he just wasn't there, wasn't motivated.
Yes,
and it might have to do something with his injuries that they've read from the Observer, his herniated discs and whatever. But
but yeah, it was totally apparent. I would say this is a skippable match.
Yeah.
Not much going on here, which was disappointing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like I've mentioned before, anytime on the syndicated shows that there's a marquee match or whatever, I'll pass it along to Austin. We'll talk about it. Mm-hmm. They're not always going to be home runs.
No, sure, right.
And I mean, that wasn't necessarily the worst 7 minutes of my life, but I'll tell you right now, next week I won't remember it.
No, no.
Yeah. All right, so that we got all of our pre-work here out of the way. That brings us now to the June 14th edition of Monday Night Raw, and it is taped from the Manhattan Center, and I believe it was taped June 7th. So anything that we're seeing happened prior to King of the Ring. And before we get into the show, I mean, there's been numerous times. I thought at first, as we didn't see the announced guys, that they had done voiceover work.
Yeah.
But then we eventually see them at ringside. So previous to what you had mentioned before, is like if somebody's at ringside and they overhear like, oh, he pinned Hogan at King of the Ring, they had to have known that at least a week out of what they were going to do. So.
Right.
But to go back to the beginning here, the show starts off with footage of Yokozuna celebrating his WWF World Championship win. And then we hear from Mr. Fuji and Yokozuna because they were interviewed that same night by Mean Gene. And obviously they're thrilled. But Fuji says that they're going to have a celebration in the United States. And Mean Gene's like, what do you mean a celebration? And then Fuji says it's going to take place on July 4th. And Mean Gene's like, July 4th? Well, that's like America's holiday of celebration, like of independence. And Fuji's like acting like he doesn't know what Gene's talking about. He's just like, oh, what do you want? Yeah. No, Yokozuna. He's celebrating. He's like, no, it's America's like birthday, independence. No, Yokozuna.
Never heard of it. I don't know.
Independence Day of what? I don't know.
Yeah.
So Fuji says that they will celebrate at a historical landmark. And we hear from Yokozuna, and he says that America is dead.
Yeah, so the whole time here, so it basically turns into Fuji is arguing with Gene. And I almost started tuning them out because as they're arguing, kind of in the background, the camera is slowly panning in to Yokozuna's face.
Yes. Yep.
And he just says his little classic line, just like Bob said, Hulkamania is dead. And that's it. So it's getting to the point where, for me, Yokozuna's turning into a comedy character. Just because it's like, what are you doing?
You're kind of right, because it's kind of getting away from the monster.
Totally.
And it kind of becoming this stereotypical heel that Hogan would be.
Yeah, it's like it's like the mystique is gone. You know,
he's kind of been like humanized a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm bummed with that, but I'm not even letting it bother me anymore at this point for Yokozuna. But it's a shame, I think.
No, I think that's fair, because I was all on board on him after the whole Duggan thing.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And then after WrestleMania,
that's I was just gonna say, all the way up to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
one of the best lead ups, and I said this before. One of the best big man pushes that I can remember, that I know of. You know, I was all in on Yokozuna leading up to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
So.
I was right there with you. And then, I don't know what they did, but after that, just interest kind of dwindled.
Yeah.
It's not over. You know, if I see Yokozuna, I'm not like, oh, fuck Yokozuna. But it's
No,
it's not the same thing.
Yeah. He's by no means at the Giant Gonzalez level. Nowhere. Nowhere near that, but still, you know.
So we get the Raw opening video, and then we go into the Manhattan Center. Vince McMahon, Randy Savage, Bobby Heenan, they're chit-chatting about all these various things. And then Heenan believes that Mr. Perfect would have won the King of the Ring if he was still associated with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that would lead us into our first match of the night, which would feature Mr. Perfect taking on the resident porn star of the WWF, L.A. Gore.
Yep.
Of course, he's not a porn star, but you would maybe think he was.
Right. Can you imagine that gimmick if they did that in '93?
Well, I mean,
with L.A. Gore.
So L.A. Gore comes out and he'll just be like, oh, baby, I'll gore you.
He's ready for a mustache ride.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Come on, it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Austin, this is pretty much a squash match. What do you got on it?
I noticed the entire crowd was wearing what looked like Burger King paper crowns.
Yes.
Which I thought immediately, like, okay, WWF passed those out before we went on air. So I thought that was kind of lame, and it was very distracting, especially because neither of these guys have anything to do with that. But I kind of knew where we were going, headed later on in the night.
Yeah.
Gore was all oiled up for Perfect, so he was looking real shiny. And basically, he tried to fight Perfect off for a little bit before Perfect basically made him look silly, catching him with some basic offense. Gore attempted some really weak chops in the corner, to which Perfect, of course, answered back with some really stiff ones of his own. And we went to basically the formula offense for Perfect. The neck snapper, the knee lift, Perfect black pin. Very standard, very basic. With that said, I don't think it was bad. We've definitely seen worse squash matches. I think L.A. Gore is one of the better, I'd say, enhancement guys. Like we've seen worse.
Yeah, he's definitely, he knows what he needs to do.
Yeah. Yep.
Help this guy look good.
Yeah, but one of the biggest things, like takeaway wise, I got from this match is that Perfect just seemed fired up, and he was just looking for more competition, and so was I. But he looks just to be in a much more confident and comfortable space. Like prior to, King of the Ring, closer to WrestleMania, like we covered before, he was just kind of all over the place, just not focused. It didn't seem like.
I think once he's gotten into the Shawn Michaels thing, that's really lit him up a little bit. And I think he's motivated to be like, I'm going to fucking go with Shawn. And show that I can still go. I mean, he had a good match with Brett at King of the Ring, but I would say from the Lex Luger feud, that part of it, he was checked out
for sure.
Like what Ted DiBiase is now in this.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't fucking care.
Right.
I have no story with Luger. Why the fuck am I going to care? But now with Shawn, I mean, the attack, going through a car windshield and shit like that, like it's getting the attack at WrestleMania,
right?
Backstage. I mean, it's one of the top angles. I would have to think going on at the time at this time. So
yeah, no, for sure, and maybe that's the difference. I could just tell after the match though that he's kind of back. Mr. Perfect's
he's definitely on the right track.
Yeah,
I know. Like I said, I kind of bashed him a little bit early on in this project, and now when I see that I gotta watch Mr. Perfect, I'm not dreading it. I'm not like, oh fuck, this guy's gonna chop him or whatever. I'm like, okay, he's got some fire now, so it's like I'll tune into it. I think I can. As for this match, I mean, it's quick. It's like 2 or 3 minutes. Not really anything going on. Perfect Flex for the win. Basic stuff there. It is mentioned on commentary that it looks like as if they're acting like Bret Hart will be getting a championship match against Yokozuna, as noted earlier in the Observer notes. It's going to happen at the Garden on August 13th.
Right.
So they're still trying to make sure that Bret Hart is seen as the main event guy.
Totally.
We go to the commentary table for the first time to see the announcers, and it's obviously McMahon, Savage, and Heenan. They're promoting what will be seen on the program. It will feature Doink taking on Marty Jannetty. And now, before I continue on here, and I don't know what your reaction to this is going to be, but knowing that I had to watch a Doink Marty Jannetty match, I was kind of dreading it.
Were you?
Yes, and I think it's really, I enjoy the Doink character. I do.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think I just enjoy the character. I don't think I really want. I think the idea of seeing Doink in like a 10 or 15-minute match doesn't appeal to me.
Oh, I have to disagree with you, Bob.
But here's the thing. Like, Doink's not a bad wrestler.
Well, and that's the thing. And I think Matt Bourne's style, just in general, is a much slower, deliberate. So I think when a 10-minute match, he makes it feel like a 20-minute match.
Yeah.
Which,
you're right.
I can see like how that would be a negative, but for me, I think it works for Doink just because it is all head games, you know.
And that's why I enjoy it. Like, I enjoy his promos. I enjoy the facial expressions of like evil that just, like the ones like recently when he had an entrance and he just had that look, like, oh, I can't fucking trust that guy. Like, I'm not having him at a party or nothing.
No, right, but think of it. I mean, realistically, if he's able to slow the pace down that much and wrestle the match that he wants to wrestle, I think it just adds to the character. That's why I think I get enjoyment out of the matches. It's because it's a head game from the promo to the entrance to the match to the finish to the walking out of the match. It's all one package, and it's hard to explain maybe. But just because Matt Bourne knows how to wrestle, I think he's able to pull it off. You know what I mean? I personally don't get bored with, and we'll see this next week, but I'm more in for a long Doink match than a short Doink match, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a weird thing that I realized about it, because I think if that's my mindset, I don't think, let's say it's Bret Hart versus Doink on a house show.
Right.
And I know it's going to be 20 minutes.
Right.
Am I going to want to see Doink wrestle for 20 minutes? And I know it's contradicting because I'm sitting here saying that I enjoy the Doink character. I enjoy his promos and everything like that. But for some reason, when he wrestles, for me, there's like a disconnect.
No, and I get that. I totally get that because I think his style, it's easy to tune out.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is.
Because there's a lot of stalling. Doink's a major staller. Major.
Well, that's the thing, because he plays with the crowd a lot, and they focus on his face.
Yep, goes out to the floor.
The double Doink deal.
Yes, he's a big-time staller. But I don't know. For me, like, just because it's Doink and just because it matches up with him, I like that stuff. I don't know. I don't know. Usually, and it sounds crazy, like, oh, you like stalling? It's more than that. It's storytelling. He's telling a story with his character. To whereas a regular guy, like if a Mr. Hughes walked out and just was stalling around ringside, I'd be like, holy fuck. You know what I mean?
Right.
But since it's Doink, to me, it makes sense. I'm connected with that in that sense.
I think just now in 2018, I'm just more programmed, I guess, for maybe like fast-paced shit.
Yeah. No, it is. I'll admit it.
Like an 11-minute match. It's like balls to the walls, like everything. Yeah. And then now you're watching a 93. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Because
by comparison, like what we were talking about before with WCW, if you're watching Worldwide, I can watch that.
Right.
Because it's like more heated and stuff. This is more sketchy.
Yeah. It's like show. Spotty. It's like spotty action. You're not really getting. It's not concise. That's why Doink breaks the flow of the match constantly. Yeah. There's never a flow to a Doink match, never.
And I think really, and I don't want to put it all on Doink here, but it might also contribute to Marty.
Sure, but I think that's the match that Doink plans out or kind of puts in place. He doesn't want there to be a flow. He likes to break up. It all adds. I think it all adds to the Doink character.
Well, the thing that really scares me though is if I'm saying this about heel Doink, which is by far the best Doink, what the fuck am I going to think when he becomes a good Doink?
Yeah, right. I know.
I might have to quit. I might tap. I might just skip every fucking segment
Ugh.
and every match. I'll be here, Austin. You deal with this, and then I'll continue on later.
Let's not talk about that yet.
All right, yeah.
Let's pretend that's in the far distance.
That's like 40 or 50 episodes away from now.
Right.
McMahon also mentions that footage from the Undertaker attack will be shown, and then we will hear from Razor Ramon. There's obviously a commercial break after this point. When we come back, Razor Ramon makes his way down to the ring, and he has a bag full of cash. And what the funny thing is that we know this because the bag has a dollar sign and it says $10,000.
It's so like corny and cliche. It was literally like he was a fucking bank robber. Like, he should have just came out in a striped shirt with a little fucking black mask.
Yeah.
Like
tiptoeing his way out.
Oh my god, dude! It's so stupid. Like, we know it's money. Why do you have to do it like that?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
for
a
the
cartoon.
people who are, maybe it's for the deaf audience. They're watching like, what's going on? Oh, it's $10,000 of cash
in a tan little burlap sack. Yeah, yeah.
Because you know, Razor Ramon went to his bank with a bag and said, "Hey, put it in here." And the funny thing is that you look at the bag; it's like it's probably all hundreds because you really like he has it over his shoulder or whatever.
Yeah, there's nothing.
No, it's like 2 watts of cash.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Razor, you don't need that fucking big of a bag. You could have gone to the store and got a plastic bag and be like, "Here, I got it."
Right. And if you want to play up to like the Cuban, Scarface, like put it put it in like a tight Ziploc bag, like it's drug money or something.
Yeah, and when he opens it, like white powder comes out.
Well, maybe not that part, fucking Bob. But no, make it more believable.
TV
like
14 real quick on Monday Night Raw. TV 14.
Good Lord. You might as well take that fucking bag and pull out a rubber chicken and start squeezing it like it's a fucking cartoon.
Well, you know what? If Ramon had done the white powder thing I just said, McMahon's eyes would have bugged out. But, whoa, what is that?
Good grief, what are you doing?
It's nothing, Chico. My party supply.
Yeah, the bag fucking kills it for me, man. I hate it.
I think I literally rolled my eyes. I was like, you have to do that.
I hate it.
So McMahon notes that Ramon has become increasingly frustrated with the 1-2-3 Kid. And he says that the Kid will not get in the ring with Ramon for any amount of money. Mm-hmm. Ramon thinks he has figured out the problem and says that the Kid doesn't have to try and be him. McMahon wonders if Ramon hears the 1-2-3 in his dreams. Ramon is now offering $10,000 just to wrestle Kid again.
Yep.
Ramon says that Vince could get that personality transplant that he always wanted with that kind of money. Ramon suggests that Kid help himself instead of his family. Ramon wants to prove that the win that he suffered was just a fluke. McMahon wants to know what will happen if Kid beats Ramon again. And throughout this moment here, McMahon's really trying to force the 1-2-3 chant.
Yes.
Totally. The crowd will, I want to do it.
Yeah, totally.
Razor says he is the main man in the WWF, and a little punk like Kid isn't going to stop it.
I'm so split on Razor at this point because he looks so cool and has such a unique style in the ring, but his promos are so bad. I have some notes of my own on this, so I just want to go through it quick.
Go right ahead, my friend.
He one of his, I guess, hot little digs he gets in on 1-2-3 Kid is he says that with this kind of money, 1-2-3 Kid can go out and buy a life. And like that was one of his digs. And it's just like, really? That was the best you could come up with?
That clearly cuts deep.
Why not mock like his size? Like he could take this money and buy a couple more inches so I can take him seriously. Or something, you know what I mean?
Or like you can, buy off somebody at the theme park so you can get on a roller coaster.
Yeah, something more. Yeah. I don't know. It's like an elementary school bully. Like, oh, go buy a life. And then the thing with Vince, how he tells him, oh, you could buy that, personality exchange or whatever, the transplant. Yeah. I don't know. I just, as soon as Ramon starts talking, it's a disconnect for me, because I feel like, isn't Scott Hall known for a little bit better mic work, like in WCW? Like he's a little bit more charismatic.
Yeah, he's got a personality.
Yeah. So coming back here to where his character was probably the strongest of his career, to see him not be able to deliver on the mic, it's a little baffling to me. But I don't think he does. I don't think this promo really added anything to the feud. We obviously know that it's going to be a $10,000, put up for him. But other than that, and he didn't just say anything. It was printed on the fucking bag. So that's like taken care of for him. I don't know. I wasn't really a fan of this. He, like you said, he finishes off the promo with, he's the man of the WWF, and nobody, especially like a Punk kid, is going to stop him. I thought it made Razor kind of come off looking desperate at this point, and not in a good way. Like, he's so desperate he doesn't even know what to say anymore to like get this guy to fight him.
Yeah, it felt like a lost promo.
Completely.
I mean, they've dragged it on now. It's like the money wise, like what, 4 weeks now?
Yeah, or 3 or 4. Yeah,
I think it started 2,500.
Yeah,
it went to 5 and 75 and now 10. So about 4 weeks,
right?
Roughly, of him trying to, pay off the kid or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. So let's say the 1, 2, 3 kid accepts 10 grand. I think I would have done something just outrageous. I think I would have been like 50 grand, and just have it so that like Ramon has lost his fucking mind.
Yeah,
he won't take fucking 75. Well, how about fucking 75,000? Something just insane.
Yeah.
And you could even, in like an angle here, let's say like Ramon might not have that type of money, or whatever. He could take a loan from like DiBiase,
right?
An IRS or whatever, and be like, listen, give me the money, and like you'll fucking tie it all together. There could be a match where like 1, 2, 3 could be IRS or something.
Right. Or it's like I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Maybe Money Inc. needs Ramon to, I don't know, ambush somebody or something along those lines, to where it's
Ramon
like
go injure Rick Steiner.
Right. It's like a trade
on Wrestling Challenge or something. Oh, okay. $75,000 though, and then 1, 2, 3, it all ties in together.
Yeah, he's having a singles match. Let's say they're scheduled for a singles match. They say, hey, do a little bit more damage and we'll make it worth your while. We'll put up the money up so you can take care of that.
And it adds even more of it's like a bounty, first off. And then it's like a personal, even more personal thing. Because now it's like he's that desperate.
Right.
And like to me, 1, 2, 3 kid could easily be like, I'm not doing it for 10 grand.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What is the difference between 7,500 and 10 grand?
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, maybe more so in 93 than present day, but it's it's not that much, right?
No.
But like $75,000?
Right.
To the 1, 2, 3 kid?
Like, right.
He's probably thinking like, oh fuck, I have to do this. Like there's no way I cannot do that.
Right.
So I think maybe they were trying to go for like realism.
I guess.
I think I would have gone with the desperation thing. Like, fuck this, Chico. $75,000. Bullshit, man. I just want you like 100 grand. If he says no to 10 grand, I'd be like 100. And then 1, 2, 3 could be like, okay.
Yeah. And then he's like, fuck, now I gotta come up with the money.
And then go to DBS and be like, yo, brother, I need like 80 grand.
Yeah. No, or something like that. Yeah, something like that. I even have written down here, if Ramon's that desperate, why doesn't he park his car out in the parking garage, sit like low and wait? 1, 2, 3 kid comes out, let's say on a random house show or something, and he ambushes him, and the cameras are there to see it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to beat you up so bad that I am going to go to the length of sitting in my little car, or my little limo or whatever, and wait for you. And I'm going to ambush you after the show so I can prove to people that I can beat you up. You're nothing. And I ain't even going to put the money up because you're not worth the money. And he just beats him up.
Well, what if they had like the 1, 2, 3 kid at like a ball pit at some kid joint, and then Razor Ramon's like in the balls, and boom, he just
Razor's edge off the slide into the pit.
Yeah.
He's done.
And then Ramon gets like, the cameras there or whatever. And Ramon's like, I've been waiting under there for 6 hours, Chico. I stole your pager. I knew you'd be here.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
Something so stupid.
Yeah, I just feel like they could be doing a little bit more with this, and I think they're only going bare bones, which kind of sucks. I mean, it's still a great feud. I enjoy it, but Razor Ramon's promos aren't carrying it for me.
No.
So it is what it is.
Well, the thing is that I think this is really kind of like the first Raw exclusive angle for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they've done some promos and stuff on Superstars or whatever, but it's gotten a lot of attention on Raw,
right?
Compared to anything else. I mean, obviously there's like the Money Inc. Killing Beefcake's face or whatever, but that was like a week. That was a week worth of stuff, and they never did anything after that,
right?
Aside from like the mermaids and deformed faces in the pool that Hogan talked about on March WrestleMania. But
I think for this feud, it shows that there's potential there to have some really interesting TV stuff.
Yeah.
It feels very like a test. Like, let's put something together and see, what the reaction is. And just the 1, 2, 3 chance alone, I mean, they did something right, So I'm excited to have this kind of open the door for us moving forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was disappointed with the promo here.
Yeah, definitely a lackluster promo. So coming out of that, we get a video promoting the King of the Ring pay-per-view replay. And it's like, the American hero down to the foreign power of Yokozuna and all this bullshit. Yeah, Bret Hart, 3 incredible matches to win the King of the Ring, but was attacked by a dastardly king and Jerry Lawler and all this stuff.
Right.
And that replay will be shown on June 22nd. Still don't know why anybody would buy it when they literally told you what just happened.
Right, you're getting all the results.
Yeah, I don't know why I would tune into that. I'll just buy the fucking tape when it came out.
Right.
Doink the Clown then comes out with a cup. I believe it's a cup, right?
It looked like a can of Pepsi.
Oh, that's right. It was. Yeah, you're right. It was a can of Pepsi. I don't know why it's a cup.
Yeah.
But it is a can of Pepsi. And he goes under the ring. And then he comes back from under the ring and then sprays the commentary team with the Pepsi can, which I haven't noted there.
Yeah, so this whole thing, he comes out, he scurries under the ring, his music continues to play. And it's like a good amount of time. It's probably a good minute where it's just his music is playing, he's under the ring, we don't know what's going on. The crowd was standing up like confused, like, what are we doing here? And it was all that for a simple pop out on the other side, squirts him with like the little fake can, and then gets in the ring. So we get all that for nothing. It was like, I don't know. I thought it was lame.
The dastardly clown.
Yeah.
It's noted on commentary, I think it's on commentary, that Doink had a jacket on when he went under, and then when he came back up, he didn't have one. So
Other
Vince
way around.
believes...
Other way around. Yeah, he made his entrance with no jacket, which is such a little, like, who notices that? I didn't notice it.
Right. I read my notes wrong. He had a jacket on when he didn't have one on prior.
Right.
I read my notes incorrectly.
Yeah.
So that means that Vince McMahon's automatically assuming it's a different Doink.
Sure.
So we're playing into that.
I
mean, that's kind of getting a little old.
I don't like that it's taking it over. Like, that's what Doink is now.
Right.
I thought that was a good addition to the Doink character, not let's make Doink just the doppelganger guy. I don't like that.
Yeah, that shouldn't be I would want just like more evil pranks.
I think as soon as the doppelganger thing starts is the landslide for Doink. Like he peaks at WrestleMania, and it's a slow decline.
Yeah, they lose the right direction for him.
Yes.
Yeah. That leads us to our second match of the night, and it would be our, I guess, featured match of the night. It would be Marty Jannetty taking on Doink the Clown. I guess I'll go through my notes here because I was so excited about it. I need to punish myself for this, but Doink attacks Jannetty on the floor with silver strikes and then stomps in the corner. Then he works over Jannetty with forearm strikes, but then Jannetty fights back with blows of his own. Jannetty comes off the middle rope to hit a bulldog for a near fall. Doink backs Jannetty against the ropes and shoulder blocks Marty to the apron. Doink rams Marty face first into the turnbuckle, but Marty is able to reverse, sending Doink into the buckles. Marty avoids a kick and gets a 2 count. At this point, we go to our first commercial break.
Yep, and then so the beginning kind of portion of that match, we got a "Let's Go Doink" chant that I heard, They pan to the crowd. There's a guy dressed in basically a suit jacket and clown makeup. So I thought it was weird that
they mention that on commentary?
Oh yeah.
It's like Heenan. I think Heenan said something about it.
Yeah, they make. I forget what they said, but it's weird to me that Doink is this dastardly heel, yet they're not hiding the fact that people in the Manhattan Center like Doink.
Well, I mean, they like all the bad guys.
Well, right, but I would think that they're not going to be highlighting that, and they did. They blatantly did. So I was a little confused there, but I just think it's funny that there's fans to the point where now they're dressing in clown makeup at ringside. I don't know.
I wonder. I mean, like my dad loves Doink the Clown.
Yeah, that's his guy.
He is. He still asks me how he is, and I'm like, he's dead.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks for bringing it up.
He's always sad about it every time.
Yeah. What? He is? What?
When he died, how's Dink? I think Dink's still alive, but
I don't know.
Yeah. We come back from commercial. Marty drop kicks Doink and then keeps control with an armbar on the mat, and then Doink is able to send Marty to the floor, and they brawl outside the ring for like a brief moment, not very long. Jannetty hits a top rope crossbody for a near fall, and then Doink plants Marty with a power slam. And at this point, Doink's paint is like all over Marty's chest.
Oh, it's a mess. Yeah.
And I was, it had to have been on the power slam because I don't know how that would have had. His face must have rubbed up all against him.
Either that, or I know there was one point where I think Doink hit a slap on him, and all the paint was on Doink's hand, and that helped kind of smear it around. Yeah, but he must be using a different paint, or it was like a cheaper paint for this show.
I haven't seen that happen before.
Oh, not this bad. It was like really bad.
Because usually it like chips off.
Yes, and this was right. It's like, how Sting's paint is, because his chips all the time. He uses like some special, but I think this must have been like more of an oil based.
Yeah.
To where it was like it was smearing off. Yeah.
Doink keeps control of Marty, working over his left arm, and then he drives Marty down on the mat with a back suplex. Doink slams Jannetty and then goes to the top, hitting the whoopee cushion, which is a top rope sit down splash, and it's actually a pretty cool move.
It looks devastating.
Yeah.
Even the crowd is like, oh, they like groan for Marty. They're like, oh,
Yeah. Like I thought that was gonna be fucking it. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Doink plants Marty with a neck breaker for another 2 count, and then he continues to beat on Jannetty with kicks before going to the top rope, but Marty stops him with a press slam to the mat. Marty drops Doink after a few strikes to the midsection and a spinning elbow shot off the ropes. Jannetty sends Doink into the ropes and hits a drop kick and a snap suplex. Jannetty clotheslines Doink and gets a 2 count. Jannetty drives Doink's face down to the mat, but is still unable to get a 3 count. Doink attempts a slam, but they both go flying over the tops of the floor. Jannetty atomic drops Doink and delivers a super kick. And then Marty takes Doink over with a Hurricanrana on the floor, but at that point, they have been counted out.
Right. Yeah, I knew as soon as, not to cut you off, Bob, but as soon as they spilled out, like out to the ring, I fully expected like a count out for this one.
Well, the thing that's most obvious about it is the damn referee. They're probably out there for like 3 seconds, and the referee's already up to 8. Right.
So it was like a blatant kind of deal there. Real quick too, you glossed right over it, which I'm very surprised, Bob. But it was around this time in the match where in the crowd, I think the action like spilled out to the floor or something, and the camera shows a guy in the crowd with his shirt off in jeans with a full head covering rubber Hulk Hogan mask.
I didn't even
going nuts. It was fucking hilarious. It was hilarious.
Really?
To the point where Bobby Heenan like made a comment and he goes, "Oh, did you see that guy? That was the real Hogan. That's all that's left after, that's all that left because he got demolished at the King of the Ring. He's only 130 pounds now." Yokozuna squashed him. So he's like, oh my God. Just the way the guy was on camera with the oversized, because it was like a big mask of Hulk Hogan. Yeah. And he was like waving his arms around, and Bobby goes, look, that's the real Hogan. It's because he got smushed. He's only 130 pounds now.
See, that's the negative thing about my style of doing my notes here is I'm so focused with in-ring. Like I don't notice commentary things or like what's going on in the crowd. I think
it was hilarious, Bob.
That's pretty funny.
Just the shot of the guy going nuts with the Hulk Hogan mask. First of all, where the fuck did he get that? Because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's a full mask. So I don't know how he could see anything.
Is it like a Halloween mask?
That's what it looked like, yeah. Dude, it was hilarious. And the fact that Bobby even made something out of it was even better. I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. So yeah, we got that during this match. So the crowd's really like, they're eccentric tonight. Like there's some weird shit going on in the crowd. We got clowns dressed up, fucking Hulk Hogan guy. Yeah, it was weird. The Burger King crowns are all over.
Yeah, which they obviously stage that.
Oh, of course. But dude, the Hulk Hogan thing was hilarious. I would suggest, Bob, it was so funny that you should go back and like.
I literally might have to do that.
Yeah,
because
it was hilarious.
The more you're talking about, I vaguely remember like hearing Heenan like go off on a tangent for a minute.
Yeah,
but I don't remember like seeing it or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's all that's left of Hulk Hogan is 130 pounds.
That's what makes Heenan
squash the rest.
That's what makes Heenan so good.
I know.
As a distraction from the show, he makes it part of the angle or whatever.
It was hilarious. Hilarious.
After the match, though, officials prevent Doink from getting back in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But Jannetty comes off the apron with a crossbody to take Doink out again. So he's got like a level of revenge there, I guess, for being double counted out.
Yeah.
So I know I was just talking about how like, oh, Doink match. Well, I don't know if I really went. I thought it was one of the better Raw matches.
For sure.
It's like,
I really like this match.
I don't understand what's going on with my brain.
I know. Me neither. Half the time.
For me or for you?
For you. I don't know what's going on in your brain. Yeah.
So no, I thought it was one of the better ones. Pretty, good action. I mean, the whoopee cushion by Doink was
really good.
Yeah, he hit it pretty well.
Yep.
Pretty energetic crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I was entertained by it. So I don't understand what is wrong with my brain to be like, hey, don't be excited about Doink the Clown. I don't know. It hasn't changed either. I mean, it was a good match, but like, I still don't think I really want to see Doink. I want to see him doing these pranks and being a jerk, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's fucking weird.
Well, for me, I knew as soon as the match was kind of announced, I was looking forward to it. I've really enjoyed Marty's stuff as of late, which blows my mind because before this podcast, I could give a flying rat's ass about Marty Jannetty. I'm a fan at this point in 93. Of course, I'm a fan of Doink. So for these two to pull off a pretty good match on Raw, get a decent amount of time, not too long, not too short, crowds into it for the most part. I thought it was really good. The crowd was a little annoying during some parts of the match that kind of took away with like several 1, 2, 3 chants that had nothing to do with the match and blah, blah, blah.
So it's basically like the Chicago crowd now.
Or like the NXT. Yeah, or like the NXT crowd, it felt a little like. Whereas they're just trying to like make a show for themselves kind of thing.
They try to get over.
Yeah, which, whatever. But no, all things considered, surprisingly, I didn't even mind the finish. The double count out. I think, it's not necessarily a screwed finish. It's not the ideal finish, but I liked it because it was almost as if neither man was paying attention to the count. They were just going at it. Of course, Marty was in control, but I think that it shows and sets up nicely for a rematch, and I am totally in for a rematch. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a really good match.
I actually have it in my notes, too, that the finish allows them to meet again on TV, and I'm actually okay with that.
Yep.
I agree. Again, I am like literally contradicting myself within about a half hour, but
yeah,
that's just how it goes.
I know.
So it's announced here at the commentary table that on WWF Mania, I believe it's Mania.
Yep.
Tito Santana will be teaming up with Bob Backlund, and they will be battling the Head Shrinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Tito and Bob Backlund might be the oldest tag team combination we've seen yet.
Yeah, I literally have it in my notes, Bob, in capital letters, Eon. because that I have just no interest in that. No, I will not be tuning into WWF Mania this weekend.
No, yeah, like I'm not gonna pass that match on to you. Just the thought of it though, like, it'd be kind of funny to see 5-2 coming off the top rope and like kill Bob Backlund with the splash. And then just hear like Bob Backlund like, ouch.
Oh. Yeah. The Popeye noises.
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, I hate it.
That was like a mixture of Bob Backlund and the Bushwhackers.
That's what it sounds like.
He does, yeah. Anytime he gets hit, he's like, whoa.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
There's another video promoting the replay of the King of the Ring pay-per-view, which is June 22nd. They must not.
We get it, Bob.
I'm sorry, man. They're the ones that keep on fucking telling us about it. Like, Jesus, guys.
Like we talked about before,
we didn't buy it once. Are we gonna buy it 3 more times? Like, no.
Right. I wonder how those encore presentations really did. I wonder.
I can't imagine.
I'd wonder.
Very well.
I know.
I can't. Because really, as a fan, it makes no sense.
Right.
Like, just get the fucking tape when it comes out, or rent it. You know, like, I used to be able to rent them at Wegmans for $1 for like 3 days. It's like, why would I?
Right. And I think even in one of the promotion packages, they announced like the Coliseum home video date. So like that defeats the purpose. If I see the date, I'm just gonna wait, go buy it, and then I own it.
Well, wasn't like WrestleMania 9 like, oh, the show's April 5th, but you can get it by April 29th.
Oh yeah, I think they did do that.
It's like, why the fuck did I even buy the pay-per-view? In 3 weeks, I'll just get it for like $25.
I know. Yeah, I think they did do that. I remember talking about that.
Yeah, it was one. I think it was WrestleMania. It was
I think it was too.
Turnaround rate of 3 weeks. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Coming out of that, we go to our third match of the night. It is Owen Hart against Dan Dubai.
Yes.
I know this is one of your favorite guys. It's not favorite.
In the main event.
This is not the main event.
Out of nowhere. In my heart it is. You can just pipe down.
Okay, sorry.
I had no idea Owen was back from his knee injury.
Okay, so yeah. I don't understand because they were like, oh, well, Owen Hart tore his ACL against Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, he has maybe missed like a month. I
think it is literally just about,
Unless he was like working through it and was like, no, I'm not hurt.
When he came out, I was like, what? Yeah. I was very confused. Pleasant surprise, but confused.
Yeah. He comes out still wearing his high energy gear.
Yeah.
Despite not having teamed up with Koko Beware in months. I don't even know.
No mention of Koko Beware anywhere. They didn't even talk about high energy.
Has he not been seen since like the Yokozuna demolishing of the first Raw? I don't think we've seen him since then.
Who, Koko Beware?
Yeah.
I want to say he had one more match after that. Okay. I think it was with a bigger guy. Like a bigger guy squashed him.
You're probably right. I just don't remember.
I'm pretty sure he did on Raw, but other than that, no, we haven't seen anything.
Okay, because I'm not even sure if Koko is still with the company.
Okay.
I can just see now like Koko Beware sitting at home with a smile on his face, like, thanks, Owen. I'll never forget our time either.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, I'm waiting for you, Koko. Before we get into any action here, though, the 1-2-3 kid calls in from is it Asuka?
Oh, Osaka.
Fuck it. I knew it. Osaka.
Yeah.
Osaka, Japan. And I guess this is legitimately a call from Japan.
Really?
Is what Dave Meltzer said. So it is a tape show, but I'm assuming, they dubbed it in there or whatever. Kid says that promoters all over the world have been calling him ever since his victory over Razor Ramon. He says the whole experience has been incredible. Kid says that okay, this part got me kind of laughing. So Kid says that Yokozuna winning the title was in the newspapers. And apparently everyone over there has been saying Yokozuna.
That's all he can pick up. Like, he knows he hears it.
Yeah.
I know. I've been walking on the street, Vince, and I know they're talking. That's all I hear is Yokozuna. And, like, Vince is kind of like, whatever, and then kind of cuts him off away from that and goes into a different question. Because you can tell he's, Sean Waltman's pulling, stuff out of his ass.
He has no idea what to do. He's like, 18, 19 years old. He's like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, not at all. And I just love the way he was kind of working the whole phone call because, so he picks up, he goes, are we live? And he's like, oh, wow. He's like, oh, this is cool. And so Vince explains to him, oh, Razor put up $10,000 in cash. Will you accept it? And he goes, it's cash? He's like, Vince is like, yes, it's cash. It's physical cash.
That's a lot of money.
He's like mind blown. But of course he does accept. He's like, oh, I'd be a fool not to accept it. I got to accept it. And it's like, but over the fucking phone, come on. Why couldn't we have a face-to-face with that? Keep Razor like back by security and something.
Yeah.
But just the whole phone call was pretty funny, and it's sad to say, but I enjoyed this phone call better than Razor Ramon's promo.
Oh yeah.
Match. You know what I mean? I thought it came across better.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just liked it because it was this comic. It was very comical of how 1, 2, 3 Kid was doing it.
Oh yeah, it was like it was an oversell for sure.
100%. It was just really corny sounding.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, $10,000, Vince. Oh wow, that would change a lot for me.
Yeah,
I gotta do it. All right, I'll do it.
Yeah,
and I'm listening to him like, dude, you said like absolutely not to 25.
right.
No, $5,000 worth it. 7,500.
No.
It's just I care about my family. $10,000. Fuck yeah.
Oh wow, is it in cash?
It's money.
As if Razor had a credit card. He's like, I'll have to charge it, Chico, but like whatever, we'll fight.
Right.
Vince is like, oh yes, of course it's cash.
Of course it's cash.
What the fuck? Yeah, it was.
That was pretty silly, but
yeah. Also, in the beginning of the match, so I think it was right before the phone call rang in. This Dan Dubiel or whatever.
Dubai. Dan Dubai.
Yeah. He doesn't know what he's doing. So they lock up. Owen is completely walking him through the moves. The guy's looking wicked out of his element. And at one point, I could literally hear and see Owen calling out, push me, push me, push me, until the guy finally like caught on and pushed Owen. And Owen fired back with like a hot slap across the face and a deep arm drag. So the crowd
Owen might have been pissed.
For sure, because I think the guy was like walking, he was kind of selling a little bit, but you could tell he didn't know what to do. Owen was there to walk him through the match. And you could hear and I could see Owen, push me. And the guy's kind of like looking around. And then I think he finally realized what Owen was saying and he pushes him and Owen's like, he like blasts him with a slap.
I could just see him being like, dude, you told me to push you. Why did you just smack me in the face?
Oh my God. So I knew this was going to be a rough one for Owen. He doesn't have much to work with here. And that's right before the phone call. So that's literally the first 30 seconds into the match, I think, or first minute into the match or something.
I mean, the whole thing is really quick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because,
Thank God. Thank God.
Because Owen pretty much just hits him with a spinning heel kick and then goes to the top to hit a missile drop kick and then wins the match. Good. Yep, it did. And then he wins the match with a bridging suplex.
Perfectly executed. Awesome bridge. I thought this, for what it was, literally maybe a 2-minute match with a promo inside of it. I thought it was effective for Owen. It seemed like, okay, they're going to position this guy for something. Because even following the match, Vince promotes that, a match coming up, of course. Unfortunately, it's with the Bastion Booger for All American Wrestling this Sunday. But still, Owen is getting that promotion. And even Randy says that ever since The Rocket recovered from his knee injury, he's been zooming right to the moon. So it's like, hell yeah, I'm into this. We're going to get some Owen promotion now.
Yeah, I mean, just judging by the match, I would be all on board, to be honest with you. His stuff felt pretty fresh and energetic.
Yes.
Put him in there with Jannetty, put him in there with Sean, put him in there with a guy like Doink, maybe.
Right.
I would probably be okay checking it out. I like Owen.
For sure. It definitely is weird seeing him in the high energy gear, though. Because he's got to ditch that. He's got to ditch that. It's really, it's too old. Like, that's old. And Owen's style is not that.
Right. It's like a fresher new thing.
Yeah. So he's definitely got to figure something else out. And something tells me he will, Bob. But yeah, it's the only drawback. The outfit it's got to go. It's
I
not
wonder
working.
if like Owen's style and stuff like that, what would have been like if he was in WCW with like Sting
Yeah,
taking
yeah,
on like Steve Austin there and like Rick Rude and stuff like that. It probably would have been pretty cool.
yeah. I think he probably would have been more of a mechanic, like more not as much relying on off the
The high
ropes
spots or
stuff.
whatever.
Yeah, he'd probably be kind of like a Steve Austin, like a technician almost,
Yeah.
more of a mat based. But still, I would have been into it.
Yeah, and you're kind of foreshadowing. You think he'll figure it out.
Oh, I think he'll figure it
I
out,
think
buddy.
you're right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick your leg out of your leg. We see footage from the WWF Superstars, which is getting pretty much just shoved down our throat at this point. Which was showing at King of the Ring, as I mentioned, but not in complete form. The Undertaker had a match with PJ Walker, who's not just the coolest and he's not just the best, but he's PJ Walker. We get a before we get into the match, I think there's a Lex Luger Ico Pro ad.
Yeah, and is this the commercial break too, where we see like the weird still picture of the steak stamped with like Raw on it?
I think so. Because I know what you're talking about. I didn't note that, but I think you're right. Like it's like set up like a dinner table. You want your steak.
Yes, and it's the picture of the meat. But I feel like they do this more and more moving forward. Like these little still pictures of Raw in a funny little way.
Yeah. I don't think it's just like just the steak or whatever.
Right? No. But
yeah, they're probably gonna have like a penis and a vagina and just have Raw on the penis going right into the vagina.
Oh yeah, stamped right on it.
Gotta love it.
But no, I think this is funny because this is the first time we've seen anything like this, and I fully expect them to kind of use that moving forward, and I think they do.
Oh yeah, I mean, we had to deal with them saying the catchphrase 8 times a show for 4 months,
right? Thankfully, since Savage and Heenan kept screwing it up, I think Vince gave up on that.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see more of that probably moving forward, which I just think is a funny little thing.
Yeah, so there's the Lex Luger Ico Pro ad, and then another WWF figure, and Virgil IRS.
The audacity of IRS.
The lightning quick arms of Virgil.
Yeah.
So back to the segment here that we're being shown again. As you would expect, Undertaker had a very easy match with Walker. I believe he wins with a choke slam.
Mm-hmm.
And after he performs the move, you see Giant Gonzalez making his way down there with Harvey Whippleman. So Taker decides, hey, I'm going to fight this guy off. He hammers way on with several right hands. And Mr. Hughes comes down to the ring.
Great.
And he just whacks, or I should say first, he just drops Paul Bearer with a sidewalk slam.
Yep.
And then Whippleman gets the urn and gives it to Hughes. Taker doesn't know any of this is going on. Okay, so just picture this. Undertaker's in the corner beating up on Gonzalez.
Yeah.
He side slams Paul Bearer. Undertaker's still oblivious to anything going on. But maybe he thinks Paul Bearer just fucking scoop slam Mr. Hughes. We're in good shape.
Of course, yeah.
Or he doesn't even know Hughes is there. So he's probably thinking that Paul Bearer slammed Harvey Whippleman. So he's probably like, okay, we're in business.
Right.
So Whippleman has obviously given Hughes the urn. So Hughes goes over to Taker and just whacks him with the urn from behind, which I think only staggers Taker the first try.
Yeah.
Go down.
Right.
But I noticed, though, that when Hughes hits him, he drops the urn and the urn rolls to the floor. So Harvey's got to get out of the ring real quick, go get it, and give it back to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that allows Hughes to destroy Taker with another strike. And he leaves both Bear and Taker laying in the ring. Though at one point, Paul Bear tries to get up. Like he's like, oh, okay. And Hughes just clocks him with it again. And then Paul Bear's like, oh, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a funny visual.
Yeah.
I have it noted here, though, that nobody tried to save Undertaker.
Right. Yeah.
He must not have any friends.
Yeah.
Who wants to be friends with a dead guy?
And it's funny you mentioned that because I think it's King at one point who says, gotta look. Yes. So it is King. And during this whole thing, he's talking to Macho Man and he goes, oh, you and the Undertaker have something in common. Your career is dead and he's the dead man. You're both dead or something like that. And it kind of came out of nowhere. And I think Savage didn't even respond or something. And it was just like, ouch, He's basically saying your career's dead. He's the dead man. There you go. So I don't know if that's a little dig because again, they did have the thing in King's promotion a month ago.
USWA.
Yeah. But I just thought that was kind of a nice dig to Savage.
Well, that certainly fits.
Yeah.
The issues there.
To the point where, again, I don't think Savage said anything back. So, at least I don't have it noted.
Well, I mean, it's kind of an accurate statement.
I know.
Because they're not really letting him do nothing. So.
Right.
Anything of note, at least.
Yeah.
So, coming out of... go ahead.
Yeah, no. Just as far as the angle and kind of the recap footage, I thought it took away from Raw a little bit too long. Because they pretty much showed the whole segment. Don't get me wrong, I think it was a decent segment for Hughes, and I think it helped get the point across as a typical Whippleman monster. I don't mind Mr. Hughes in the ring necessarily. I don't like his character. Like, it's a very vanilla character for me.
Well, it's
just
like
a bodyguard.
Right?
Yeah.
A hired gun.
Right. I think it's very basic. I don't like the stable of like him, Gonzalez. Like I don't like that because I don't like Giant Gonzalez. So if it were me, I'd be distancing Mr. Hughes as far away from Gonzalez as possible, just to don't even associate him with that garbage because I don't think it helps him. Especially too because Gonzalez is like bigger than Mr. Hughes, so you don't really want to play into that. I don't think
you're kind of taking away from Hughes.
His heat,
Yeah.
He's the big guy.
As a fan, you're looking at, this guy's like 7'4".
Right.
Mr. Hughes, by comparison, looks like he's 5'6".
Right.
So you're right with that.
So I don't like that, but it's a shame because Mr. Hughes can do some stuff in the ring that Giants and Gonzalez can't even fathom.
Right.
So
I think to me, Mr. Hughes is really hit or miss.
I agree, but I'm trying to stay positive on it. But yeah, I don't like how much of the segment they showed. They could have clipped it up a little bit, I thought, but other than that, I don't have much interest in the angle, but we've seen worse.
Well, it's like the typical, or what would become the typical, I've got the urn.
Yeah.
Like that's all they can come up with for Undertakers.
Right.
People stealing the urn.
Right.
I think that goes on for 3 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I guess we'll be seeing that quite often. Back to the Manhattan Center, Jerry Lawler comes out and he cuts a promo on the fans saying that he hates them. He wants them all to kiss his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And he says the next person to say Burger King, he will shove his fist down their throat.
Yeah, and he was also wearing black and pink.
You know what? And I have it noted, I think, later on in the match. I'm like, that might be a shot at Brett.
For sure.
Something to taunt him or whatever.
For sure. Also here, so we come back from the recap of Superstars. And we're back at the commentary table, and Bobby and Vince are talking back and forth. And Vince asks Bobby what he thinks of the situation, between Undertaker and Hughes. To which Bobby says that he thinks the Undertaker should stay exactly where he is, taking a dirt nap. I was just like, shit. Bobby doesn't care who he offends anymore.
No.
It's a shock and a wonder how all these guys don't just come out and beat Bobby up. And usually I feel like he's mindful of that, but lately he just doesn't give a shit. So basically he's like, yeah, Undertaker, I hope he's dead and doesn't come back.
Well, I kind of like that he's so risque, I guess.
He's ruthless.
He's not so bland with his stuff there.
No. So I liked that. I thought that was a notable line.
Yeah. So Bobby Heenan is really, speaking of Bobby Heenan, he's really fired up about these Burger King chants. So he's like, I'm going to protest this.
Yeah.
And he leaves the commentary table.
Yeah.
And he heads backstage. And there's obviously not several people, but probably 40 people, 50 people. Pretty much all the hard camp side, most of them at least, have Burger King crowns. I believe at that point we go to commercial break. Yep. The main event tonight, if you call it that, is Jerry Lawler against Mark Thomas.
The jacked up jobber.
Yeah, man, if you're going to do the job, you might as well look like $1 million.
Right.
So I have it noted here, just as you had said, that Lawler is wearing pink tights.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I might be reading too much into it, but it might be like a little shot at Brett. But it would make sense
I'm
considering
thinking
his
it
attack
is.
at King of the Ring.
Yeah, I'm thinking it is.
Uh, Bobby Heenan mentions on commentary that Mr. Fuji doesn't have a location yet for the celebration, but it will be at a landmark,
Mm-hmm.
and Fuji will issue a challenge to anyone, whether they are a wrestler or an athlete, to slam Yokozuna.
Right. And it's funny thinking of that because it's like, why would Fuji want somebody to slam his monster?
Like, why would you want to set up your guy to potentially look like a fool?
Right. But then Bobby kind of explains it as Fuji says Americans are weak and they're cowards. So this opportunity will only prove their point, basically, that nobody will be able to, like, it'll be just another thing to drive home that Americans suck, basically. So I thought that was a decent way of saying it, but still, it doesn't make sense.
So, it's like a celebration, and then proving the point that Americans aren't as good as foreigners or Japanese people.
That's basically the gist of it. But I don't know. I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah. So when that's going on, it's pretty much an afterthought in terms of Lawler's match here.
Yeah,
He's just casually beating on Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas backdrops Lawler, and then tries again, but Lawler counters with an elbow strike and then spikes him with a pile driver, which I thought right there, like, just pin him. Like, it was a pretty good pile driver, whatever. But Lawler doesn't, and then he proceeds just to hit him with a standing fist drop to win the match. I mean, that I would not have done. I would have just skipped that. Just done the pile driver, call it a day.
I'm sorry, but I find Jerry Lawler in 1993 WWF Raw very boring. His moves, I think, are boring. It's always cheap heat with Lawler. And just the fist drop in the whole match, he's like casually beating on Mark Thomas. It's not even a match. It's like he does a move and then he kind of panders while he's dragging Thomas around, and then he'll do another little punch, and it's like it's not even a fight,
No, I mean, so I don't want to get too much into this, but I think I'll talk about it more in the next episode. But I've recently have gotten a bunch of the Memphis TVs.
Yep. Which I like. I like all that stuff.
I started in 1986
because
that's really the earliest that I can go.
Right.
Before, just don't care. It's like Lawler's stuff back then is pretty enjoyable. He's an obvious star compared to Bill Dundee or whatever.
Right.
And his style of wrestling definitely fits with the Memphis audience, I guess, because they kind of believe in the slower paced, more realistic type of attack. Well, I think like the New York crowd, you're just gonna be bored.
No, I was. I found myself bored with this just because I don't think it fits. Like, Raw is supposed to be this cutting edge, new, fresh, exciting, and then you have a guy like Jerry Lawler to main event your show, beating on a job guy, and it's not even a match. Like, he's just, I don't know. I'm just bored. Like, I'm bored, and I hate to say that because I enjoy the Memphis stuff too with Lawler and all the stuff Lawler did with Eddie Gilbert and all that stuff, but I don't know. I have no interest in Lawler in 1993. I really don't.
I think I have interest in Lawler. It's similar to Doink, where I'm interested in him promo wise.
Yeah.
When it comes to like knowing that he's got a enhancement match or a squash match or whatever, it's just like, I know it's going to go 5 minutes because he doesn't have quick 2 or 3 minute matches. He stalls. Right. He does all this bullshit.
Right.
And it's going to take a while before it comes to an end. So, like, that's where I'm kind of at with Jerry Lawler. I think his stuff with Brett does get better. So I'm still kind of anticipating your, reaction to that type of thing. But
as of right now, it's not looking good, Bob.
I don't blame you because he hasn't really. I mean, the attack on Brett was good at King of the Ring. Kind of gives it a little bit of heat. But, I mean, in ring-wise, he hasn't done much.
No, not at all.
Nor has he had a feature match, I guess. Really.
Sure. He hasn't really had the chance. Yeah.
All right. Well, McMahon notes that next week they will be in Poughkeepsie. Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yes.
And, as they're talking about this, we see a few women eating ice cream in the crowd. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Well, probably. yeah, because they even cut to like a couple kids, so you can tell they handed them out for like effective.
Oh yeah, for like marketing,
product placement. Yeah.
Then we get another WWF figures. I think this is like the first time we've gotten 2 of those figures.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. We go back to the commentary table and they promote what we'll see next week. What we'll see next week is Doink the Clown taking on Marty Jannetty in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. And I'll tell you right now, when I heard that, I was like, fuck, that's going to be like probably 25 minutes.
I was ready. I was pumped.
I know it's going to be probably a good match. But I'm still like, just like, I would want to see something else. Like, it's just.
Well, there's other stuff. Like, where's Adam Bomb been? Where's Shawn Michaels? Like, there's other stuff.
Give me the debut of Diesel or something.
Right.
Indian debut of Diesel.
No, there's definitely
other have Brett Russell or something. I don't know.
Right, because we haven't seen him. But I didn't mind it because I thought for sure that they were going to be delivering. So I was like, okay, I'm down for that.
I know it's probably going to be a good match. I'm sure next week we're both going to be. It was a really good match.
Right.
But initially, when I see it there, it's just like, we just saw this. Now I got to see it for probably double the amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, do I really want to do that?
I don't know, Bob. I was excited.
I'll tell you, I'm excited about the next thing, though, is that along with the 2 out of 3 falls, it'll be Razor Ramon taking on the 1, 2, 3 kid with $10,000 on the line. So basically, I'm pretty sure the way it's been described is that kid just has to wrestle. He doesn't have to beat him.
Right.
He just has to get in the ring with Razor Ramon.
Right.
$10,000.
Right.
So we're getting pretty much a blow off, or potentially a blow off on Raw. That alone, I'd be like, okay, I'm tuning in because this has been going on for like fucking 5 weeks.
Well, yeah, and the whole thing is this Raw kind of helped transition out of King of the Ring, and I'm already interested in what's next. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm already looking forward to next week's Raw. So I think in this sense, this week's episode, did what it was supposed to. But yeah, those 2 matches announced right there, I'm sold. I'm like, fuck yes, I can't wait for next week. So.
Yeah. And I like these episodes because it's like a chapter. And we've mentioned before, like, okay, now the next one.
Right.
We go, it says something so like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Where the fuck did this come from? Random shit. So.
Right.
Final thoughts on the episode on my end for arguably a filler week of television. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, the Marty Doink match was entertaining despite, for whatever reason, my brain thinking that I don't care about it. It was pretty good. And, the angle advancement between Ramon and Kid, which continues to get plenty of airtime, setting up potentially a blow-off match next week. In my mind, it's like, all right, I got to see what's going on with this. I've invested in 5 weeks. I've enjoyed it.
Right.
So it's setting up next week pretty well. I enjoyed this week, and hopefully next week will be the same. What did you think, Austin?
Not a bad week. I would say that it was skippable. Really, other than the Doink Marty match, I feel like you don't really miss too much that you couldn't pick up from the opening, let's say, of next week. With that said, it did feel like a little bit of a filler week, but that's to be expected with it being taped, following King of the Ring, and that sort of thing. I really like these little built-up short TV feuds, though. I think it's kind of broken the year up pretty nicely. And think of it, Bob, we're already in the middle of July? June? Year's half over. It doesn't feel like we've watched a half a year Raw. I don't think. No. I think it's flown by. And I think those little things like the Ramon 1, 2, 3 kid, the Yokozuna Hacksaw Jim Duggan thing, just those little bits and pieces that have kind of carried us through has made the year fly by, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're structuring it like a play, like each act. So like early on is like the Doug and Yoko is like your major thing. And like, Hogan and Money Incorporated, that's your major act.
Right.
Instead of being like a whole year, like it was like in the 80s, when it was like Savage DiBiase, you'd be like the whole fucking year.
Right.
Base it out. You have like 3 or 4 months of like.
Now it's like quarterly. I feel like they're
quarterly. Right.
Quarterly. you know, which I think helps.
It keeps it fresh.
Completely.
You don't drag it on. I mean, they've dragged on Crush and Doink, but that's at this point, I think pretty much at this point it's just house shows. I don't know if we'll see them again.
I hope not.
TV wise. Knowing you're lucky in like 3 weeks, I'll be like, here's a superstars match. It's Crush versus Doink.
Bob. Yeah.
That will suck. But no, I thought, I mean, like you said, this last week is definitely skippable, but enjoyable regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right in the sense of, I don't think we haven't hit a spot where it's like, fuck, I have to watch Raw.
No.
Or it's like, oh my God, this year's taking forever.
No, I completely agree.
You're doing a pretty good job with keeping things fresh and the constant like new faces we're seeing.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So that stuff I can enjoy too. So.
Yep, I agree, and it's crazy because, again, I've barely seen any of this 1993 stuff, and it's such a shame now that I realize kind of the diamonds in the rough that are sprinkled heavily throughout the year.
Well, and that's what I look forward to in this project. Because I had watched them like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see what you're like surprised, like, oh, that was way better than I expected. Like your love now but your appreciation for like IRS now.
Yeah, right. And even like remember when Marty Jannetty came back, and I was like, oh my God, I was so like all that stuff. I've never seen it. I've never appreciated it like I do now. So I've really enjoyed the podcast thus far. Hopefully everybody else has too.
Well, judging by the feedback that I've gotten, and I know that you have gotten, people are. So I appreciate everybody that listens. And if you stumbled upon us here or what have you, and you want to get in contact with us, you can. IcoPodcast@gmail.com. Facebook is just IcoPod. Type it in. Hit us up. I know guys like Michael Vincent messages us quite a bit. Same thing with like Mike Campbell, who'll send me personal messages and stuff like that. And then Johnny from England.
Yeah.
He likes to comment on our stuff too. I assure you, it's not just 3 people, but those are the 3 people that come to my mind. So anybody listening, wow, these guys are 3 listeners. No, we don't.
No, shout out to them. Yeah, they've been cool.
Those guys have been there since the beginning, really.
Yeah.
That have continued on with us.
Yeah.
You got anything else there, Austin? Or at this point, should I have Owen Hart's High Energy song playing and we'll wrap it up?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a hell of a first episode back. IcoPod lives on the podcasting wavelength. So I really appreciate that. Hopefully the audio comes across pretty good for everybody. But speaking of good audio, it never hurts to fade out with an Owen song. So I'm all for it, Bob.
All right, then. Well, I'm sure at this point it's probably playing. I'm Bob Collins Jr. And for Austin Skinner, you've been listening to IcoPod.
You gotta hear it.